Helo agus fáilte bhláir of Guthrie Shascid. In program h-Alba h-Alba go crea scéalach an bhoireannach an sil spórs na h-Alba. Is mis Iona Ballantyne is ha mi tolit ra go bhfuil manager skipan an ban h-Alba fo is 7 bliana déag Pauline NicDhòmhnaill callrooms in studio. Our program na heiche noch leis an SWPL Chiad an ceann 7 bí mi héin is Pauline coidseadh rársrí na gcuite go bhí roin. Tá sin na brúnaí seann chluicheadair na h-Alba, Pamela NicDhòmhnaill, mi bhí coach an skipa balcóise art scola seaar an Florida, agus Cluinnidh Iona Ballantyne in golfer och tanta haar scolarach ein and in America. Pauline, welcome back to 360.
Thank you.
I mean, exciting news because we do have the SWPL returning just under a week.
Yeah, we do.
Or over a week, sorry.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting for everybody involved, especially the players. I've been working with the players, or some of the young players that will be involved in these up-and-coming fixtures, and yeah, the body language, you know, and the smiles that we're seeing now on a weekly basis is fantastic, you know. And I think it's just exciting for everybody. The way that the league finished in December, you know, it's so competitive. I think nobody can predict what's coming, so yeah, I'm so excited for the arrival of next Sunday.
Well, the last competitive game that was played was, like you said, back in December. It was the last time you were on 360 that week there. It's been a long time. Yeah,
it has been a long time, and it probably feels like it was even further back. You know, it was only, we say it was only maybe 3-4 months, but it feels like it was 8 or 12 months. So I can imagine how it feels, you know, for the players and the staff as well. But you know, I'm sure that they'll be preparing in the correct manner, and they'll be so excited to get that first competitive fixture underway. And
like you say, just seeing their smiles on players' faces, has it been like quite a big mindset shift? Because things have been so kind of difficult for so long, and now having finally something good to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, with young players, they're extremely excitable, they're optimistic, and working with them in a national team capacity, they always appear to be extremely motivated. And the players that I've been working with, you know, I really couldn't fault them in terms of attitude, application, and accountability to try and keep themselves in the best physical shape for that return to play.
Well, it's important to know also that SWPL2, we still don't have a return date for them. I mean, that's going to be tricky in terms of promotion. What could be the outcome there?
Yeah, it's an unfortunate situation. I think that it's a very competitive league as well. Obviously Aberdeen's sitting top at the moment. I've worked previously with a lot of their young players. It's unfortunate, but I think, you know, the reality is that, you know, the health and well-being of the players, the staff, everybody involved is what's key at this moment in time. And without the finance to undertake the testing, it's difficult to see how that can go ahead unless, you know, the government guidelines maybe moves to the use of a lateral flow test over the next few weeks.
Well, that's the thing with money. I mean, in reality, it's a lot that has to be put aside for the testing to enable games to be played and kind of players to play in a safe environment. It's a big undertaking.
Given where the girls and women's game is within Scotland, it's a huge financial ask, and I think you have to kind of weigh up the balance. Is if we can get these next round of fixtures undertaken safely, and we can get obviously identify the Champions League teams, then that should be the main focus. For me, does it make sense to play another round of fixtures when potentially that investment could go into the return to play and the growth of the game moving forward? That's not my decision to make, but I think that that's what has to be kind of at the forefront of the decision.
Well, it's important, and there is still a lot to do in terms of growing the game. I mean, with your Scotland squad, how are things with them, and what's happening with the players coming through?
Well, obviously we've missed a full year group, so players born 2004 would have actually been in their second year at U17, so unfortunately I've missed the opportunity, and that hurts. A lot of really good talented players, they're obviously now moving into the U19 setup, but for me, you know, when we return to the pitch, it'll be about trials, it'll be about selection, and it'll be about you really identifying where our most talented players currently sit. You know, there potentially could be players that we've identified previously that are no longer involved in the game, so we really just don't know. But on the upside, I think it's extremely exciting to be back on the pitch, and for those young players, potentially experiencing their first kind of introduction to international football or international activity. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Well, good. I mean, that is so good to hear, but it's also that worry, like you say, of kind of missing a whole host of players who have kind of just been lost in the past year.
Yeah, and that's why, as an association, we're hoping to run these kind of summer national team camps, stroke activities, because we have a lot to catch up, and it's important that we identify that. And as soon as it is safe to be back on the pitch, then we do that, you know. And for us, it's not something that we would normally have. So as much as it's come off the back of a negative, it's a real positive to think that we'll actually have communication and be working on the pitch with the players potentially on a monthly basis for the remainder of the year.
Great, well, we're really looking forward to having them back.
Thank you.
And Pamela NicDhòmhnaill, Cluinnidh bhfuil chluich choirí Pauline, ha Pamela NicDhòmhnaill a bhí coachig ball cosig ar a art school in Florida, fad imig bliana, agus cosini becan eachdraidh a bhéasa mar a chiad bhoireannach os cún skipa ghillean a ghlèidh farpais stàite.
Ha Pamela MacDonald id enam a chosnig I hain an Florida, mar hitcher agus mar art choche ball cosche. Han a rutan a haiad colonach nas inkatiche bulach, nu de hiu kemmer a hoshi hiamach an the ball cosche.
I played for the boys soccer team in elementary school, and I was the only girl that I could never find females to play with at that time. And then they banned girls from playing. So when I went to St Ambrose High School, one of my English teachers actually kind of mentored me and had me playing with the guys, but I wasn't able to play with them at the high school level. So he helped me finding a girls team, which was Cumbernauld Cosmos. And then I played for Cumbernauld Ladies, which was a really successful team back in the day. I think we won the treble 3 times. And then I managed to get into the national team at under 21 level. And then I made it into the full team. And we made it through the group qualifying stages, and we played in the playoff game against Spain. And that was actually my last game because I got offered a scholarship. 4 of us actually from the national team went to Miami to play for the Miami Gliders in the summer of '98, and we all got offered scholarship. I got offered a full scholarship at Barry University, which was at the time $38,000 a year. So that was a huge opportunity, and I decided to go ahead and do it because obviously it's a huge honour to play for Scotland, but at that time you weren't getting paid. So that the head coach actually at the time was Vera Powell, and when I made the decision to go to America, she actually sat me down and tried to persuade me to stay. Because I was just kind of breaking into the team on a regular basis. And so I said, you know, I would love to stay. And at that point, we weren't affiliated with the SFA. So they weren't able to afford to pay players to come back and forth flying. At the end of my playing career at Barry University, they actually changed that rule. By that time, I was already like 29, 30. And they started getting players to fly back and forth, you know, the same type of players as me that had come to the United States to get a scholarship.
Wat drie cholliste servachale ag Pamela an na Medigai. Hai inis na art coach de skippe balcoshen in Ghillean ag Academy Dorrel. Agus I chiad wat nach diev a ha idri as cún skippe a ghlèidh farpais stàite an an eachdraidh fad ceirit sa céad bliana.
We're right now ranked number 2 in the nation and number 1 in the state of Florida, which you know the size of this country, so that's huge. So my team, you know, we went unbeaten the last 2 years, so we've always been there or thereabouts. But the journey to get to the state championship final is so difficult. Like you have to go through your district, then you have to go through your region. And we had 6 playoff games, and every single one was like a state championship final. We went to 4 overtimes, and we went to penalty kicks in one of them. And so the journey with the guys has been incredible. We've lost a lot of players along the way, and then especially all the COVID issues. We didn't even know at times that if we were going to finish the season. And I had to quarantine my teams, and we had disruptions throughout the season. So for the guys actually to win the state championship this year has been a dream come true for them and for me.
Ha Pamela is program bal costa servachal a hoca like Doral. Is han rutan a haie the yeno it clue a horchki heen. A chacher rutan risnach roi and doel, no the horchki mar art hocha to skip in a ghillean.
I think, you know, I deal with a lot of Latin kids, so, you know, my team consists of Venezuelans, Colombians, Brazilians, Argentinians. So kind of like the Scottish culture, you know, how the men are in football. It's a male-dominated sport for the most part. It's the same over here. So I had a lot of adversity with parents at first, referees, other coaches. Other coaches and referees would walk by me looking for the head coach, and always approaching my assistant coaches. But once you establish what you're trying to do, you know, ultimately you're trying to make these young men better academically and obviously get them scholarships to go to the next level. And once they know that you have their best interests at heart, I'm very disciplined in my field. My team are always one of the fittest teams, so I strive for them to be the fittest and to be disciplined, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to help them in their future lives, you know, whether it be soccer or academics.
Ha coach gonlach het program for a video cleachte de vi bonach agus steachig ag Doral. Ach sé hecht, ta heitjer an uarshin. Well, han coach alpanach it doi smungen servachla chruachig. Agus, gaan jullie er zo'n stad?
Yeah, I mean, the goal would be to win the trip, win it three-peat. But yeah, I mean, it's so difficult to get there, but we've always been there or thereabouts. I believe that we can win it again. And I think when the last time I went to the state final was 2017. And for me as a coach, you know, when you lose, it's hard to pick yourself up and get on with it again. But when you get there and you feel that experience, it definitely makes you hungrier. And I know that these young guys that experience that, not all of them are seniors. You know, we had like some juniors, sophomores and freshmen there. And so it definitely makes them hungry. And I believe that, yeah, the goal is to win it again.
Ha Pamela súla chumal it game na ban a seo an na Alpa. Agus hai toligte fechting gewil invis vo clubbich in a fas. Rút a vies a touchbarach cormant of the nichake. Corman nach ra eiche sharoya.
Yeah, I think it's improved massively. You know, it would always have been my dream to play for my team that I support, Celtic. And then when you see all these teams like that, they actually have women's programs. I was fortunate to play alongside Pauline MacDonald. She was a captain when I was played for the national team. And so I've seen her progress, and Pauline Hamill, who was also my teammate, that they're now with the U19s, U21 team. And I actually got the privilege of going to see Scotland in Paris for the last Women's World Cup, which was devastating. It was so unlucky for them. I mean, I thought they played brilliant. Yeah, but it's fantastic, the opportunities now that these young women have going up to play for Chelsea and Arsenal and teams such like that. So, yeah, I'm so happy for to see the progression.
Such a lovely shout out from your former teammate there, Pauline.
Yeah, it was very nice to get a mention. Pam's a great girl, and I think one of the things that I really most like about her is she's extremely humble.
You can definitely tell that, and I mean, you guys playing together, like she mentioned, you must have some great stories over the years. Yeah,
we have lots of really good stories. I think probably the most disappointing thing maybe for Pam was the fact that, you know, at the point where she had actually just broken into the national team, the opportunity to go to the US was a fantastic one, but at that point she had to sacrifice, you know, further involvement at national team level. So unfortunate, but hey, she's made a great life for herself, and I'm absolutely delighted for her.
Yeah, I'm jealous of her out in Florida full time there. But I mean, summer of '98, and there you guys are off to the States. Like, how is that going together in such a big move?
Well, I was there the year before, so I was over in Atlanta the year before playing in the W League, and the opportunity came off the back of that. and obviously a few of my teammates were like, oh, I might be interested in that. So yeah, it was actually incredible to experience it with other people because I had been alone the year before. I'm not going to lie, living 2 blocks off Ocean Drive was absolutely tremendous. And you know, for us all, it was an opportunity to challenge yourself against very much the unknown, because obviously the game is small in Scotland, so you tended to know the strengths and weaknesses of the teams that you would face on a regular basis. Yeah, so to really put yourself out there, and also to understand the different sort of culture, as Pam mentioned. Miami's very kind of Latin orientated. So no, listen, we had a fantastic time, and we did extremely well and actually reached the Final Four that year as well.
Well, you must be so proud of her as well. I mean, how far she's come from her playing career onto this amazing coaching career.
Yeah, I think for Pam, the opportunity, she worked, I think, in a care home at the time, that the opportunity was afforded to her. And I think not just from a playing perspective, but the opportunity to be educated. You know, she's now a qualified PE teacher, and by the looks of it, a very, very good one and a successful one. But at the same time, she's been able to you know, embrace the opportunity to coach and remain involved within the game, which is something as players that most of us really want to do.
Totally, and such a great bit of history she just created as well, in terms of guiding her boys team. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
such good work.
I think if you have been involved in soccer in the US, the enormity of the country, to see that achievement makes it even more incredible, because the level of, or the number of players and the level of competition is just, you know, it's bewildering to someone like myself that comes from Scotland. I know that when I was over in Alabama and I tried to explain the differences, I think Scotland was a quarter of the size of Alabama geographically. So yeah, honestly, I couldn't be more delighted for Pam. She's hardworking. And it's great to see her reap the rewards of that. It's
so good. It's so nice to hear how far she's come, especially when she talks about the frustrations as well of when she did start out, and then you've got kind of families of her team or referees and people in the game with her just kind of dismissing her and going off to a male. It's still hard to hear that. Yeah, it is. It's very disheartening and it's hurtful, and it's something that I experienced as well when I was asked to take our boys development group way back, and when I was making contact with the parents, the first question was, are you the physio? You know, or are you the administrator? And my colleague who was meant to be taking the team, his wife was obviously pregnant, so he was unable to travel. But yeah, it kind of took your breath away a little bit. However, on the flip side of that, to have a success story like Pam has now, or even myself back then, we ended up making the semi-finals of the tournament that we went to. You know, it's the opportunity to change a culture and change the thought process of what people think of the girls and women's game and females working within even the men's game. Yeah, well, the proof is in the result, as you say. Absolutely. Is that just years of, is it unconscious? Or do you think people are consciously thinking, where's the man in this game? Like, what's the issue? It's so frustrating to hear your story. Sometimes it is conscious, and I think sometimes it is unconscious. It's just the way that the game is seen within Scotland. But, you know, the visibility that we currently have and the more visibility that we can get moving forward, is where we can hopefully then make a difference to change the culture, to change the thought process, and that's something I'm very passionate about trying to achieve. Have you seen quite a big improvement in your time then? Yeah, I would definitely say so. Definitely say so. I still think, however, yeah, a lot to do. We have a long way to go. Well, hopefully we'll still be here on the sofa in the future chatting about all the positives. Yep, fingers crossed. Iona Ballantyne ar dúis sear chluicheadair ghòmhhnaill ar ghlèidh dathúras agus ha séir ghol von yearst gan yearst. Lí scoilroch cé her bliana an Carolina Jess and isir fara ha feic an codam a horsin gémeiche go ire eile.
Háisí chluicheadair golf Iona Ballantyne in spores le bhí a cleach go ballrach golf a brahad ag a club Innital.
So it's like a funny story. So my brother Callum was a good footballer at the time, and then also kind of did golf as well. and my dad would always take Callum to play golf. And then Callum got a bit older and a bit better, both of them, and it was getting a bit too much with me kind of wanting to start something as well. So Dad said, like, maybe focus on one or the other, and Callum chose football. So I took over his membership at the local club, Now. And I took over, his membership and his golf clubs and everything. And then it just started from there, and Dad would drag me up to the golf course, and now I'm practically dragging him up, which is pretty cool.
Huad Hannah amach gur talent aices in spores, a siwi service nach roi yn dŵ laing a coarpish nudavai ghlèidh.
There was this tournament at Swanson, a Stephen Gallagher Foundation event, and we'd seen it being advertised, and I said, we were actually driving past, and I said to Dad, we've got the clubs in the car, like, can we give it a go? And I must have been like 8 or something at the time, quite young. And Dad was like, yeah, we can go and try, but I don't know how good you'll be. And I actually won. Wasn't expecting to win at all. And then won the next 5 events through that Stephen Gallagher Foundation, and went on to win the final at Kingsfield. So it was a bit of a shock, to be honest. I didn't think I was going to be like that good so young, I suppose. And I always remember standing there and not hearing my name third, not hearing it second. And I looked at Dad, I was like, I've not done very well. And then first, Anna Darling, which was pretty cool.
Ha Hannah it dŵr sar chluicheadair na h-Alba ghlèidh dáhuras mar ha. Agus hu cahiad cosánriche misnachi, ons na comissin aiche hain.
Yeah, very proud. I think, like, definitely the first one, I was not expecting to win at all. In each round, I remember seeing the draw, and each girl that I was playing were in the Scottish team at the time, and I was looking at them and I was like, oh, like, I'm never going to win. Like, I suppose there was a bit of confidence because I knew I was playing well, but those players at the time were like a lot better than me. And then I went out, and I remember I just gave them a bit of a surprise, to be honest. And then in the final, like, I was not meant to win at all. I remember people talking in the car park saying, oh, she's only 13, it's never going to happen. Like, the other one, like Ghlèan at the time, was, I think, 18. So she was obviously the favourite. And I think for me, just getting over that line, like, gave me a huge confidence boost. And I went on to win, I think, 2 more national titles that year. Yeah, and then the next year was completely different, actually. When I won, I led the whole way from start to finish.
Berwyd sánriche a bhaunta Hannah chluich a cwch besolheim na hoigri, is the fiachang, the barach chluicheadair.
Yeah, that was the best week of my life, I would say. I was pretty nervous going there. I suppose being on home soil was a bit nerve-wracking, but you know, once we got there and we got in the team room with Captain Mickey, it was amazing. And like the friendships that we made that week as well, that was just so good. Yeah, unfortunately we didn't beat the Americans, but you know, we had such a good time that week, so it was all worth it. I've always had that kind of confidence that, you know, like my goal in life is to be number 1 in the world on, like, for women's golf, and like I've had a lot of people say that it's not going to happen. So I think that just builds me up with confidence inside to say, like, to prove them wrong, I suppose. But yeah, I would always say that I've always had high goals and aspirations. So I've always wanted to do really well, and I suppose I've achieved quite a lot of those goals. So yeah, definitely. I would say I definitely would, like, this is where I would like to be at this kind of point in time.
Ha Hannah a gulachach son na nachheim sa driach a shewigi scholarach untachach an na medica, a ha torski barach corman a vi servachal ons na nii.
When you go to kind of bigger tournaments, you always see all the college coaches standing about and scouting for new players, I suppose. And actually, Callan, who's the head coach at South Carolina, was the first coach to ever come up to me. And I remember in Sweden, she came up to me and she said, "You've got the best golf swing I've ever seen," which was pretty cool. And you know, I'd always kind of kept an eye. I was like, oh, there's the coach from South Carolina. And then on a day they're allowed to contact you. And I got quite a few emails from different universities and just tried to narrow that down and went out on official visits to a few universities, including South Carolina. And just when I got there, I absolutely loved it. Like, all the people were amazing and the coaches were so good. And yeah, the place is just amazing. So it's exciting. There's so many like endless possibilities over there, and it's just exciting to see where my game can go and like what I can do over there.
Han golfar ook is tar cholanach sa dríacha go seo, agus ha gamasid, t-seachdain, chluicheadair searid an dúil.
You know, me and my coach, Ian Muir, we work so hard, which like at times can be difficult. But yeah, it's just, like pride, I suppose. I think like the motto, hard work pays off, is so true. Like, we put in the work and like we get that out of it, which is good. As I said, #1 in the world. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning, and that's what makes me kind of work so hard. But also, from being in the Junior Solheim Cup, I would love to take a step up and be in the main Solheim Cup team. That would be amazing. We got to kind of spend some time with the players that were in the Solheim Cup, and it was just amazing. It was actually quite cool to see how down to earth they all were and stuff, which, you know, that's what I would love to be in the future. Like, the juniors coming up and asking questions, I think that would just be amazing.
Pauline, I love these stories of fate when it comes to finding success in sport. It's so nice to hear.
Yeah, it's very refreshing, isn't it? And, you know, it looks like, you know, she seems a really grounded and humble person, and I think that, you know, hopefully that will really help her in terms of the progression across the next few years of her journey over in the US.
And striving to be the best in the world, I mean, like her coach said, the best swing she's ever seen, you kind of have no doubts about that she probably will go on to do it.
Yeah, I think maybe, you know, from a Scottish perspective, we can be a little bit negative, you know, when somebody comes out with such a bold statement. But, you know, I take my hat off to her. You know, if you feel that you have that confidence, you have that potential, and you feel that the support network around you will help you get to there, why not, you know, try and live the dream. And
here she is living the dream as well, off to the States. Again, a huge move.
Yeah, it is. And, you know, for me, for young aspiring athletes, I think the opportunity to combine your sport and your studies is one that it's really attractive. But I think as well, you know, that dual career, it's really important as well, because you never know, you know, how long that sporting career will last. So to have something behind you is very, very important. And I think, you know, the US have it, you know, spot on with the type of framework that they have to kind of have the player and the person developed at the same time.
Well, the facilities out there, they are second to none, and when you are in Scotland and maybe the weather's a bit rubbish, when this kind of scholarship comes up, how can you say no? Yeah,
it's I'm sure for Hannah it was a very easy answer. You're absolutely right. You know, the game of golf over here, I would say if it was me, I'd be a fair weather golfer 100% of the time, you know. So she's going to nicer climates, which will hopefully facilitate, you know, the development to happen at a quicker rate. But I think it'll be an incredible cultural experience for Hannah as well.
And we've seen it so many times on the show. I mean, we've spoken about so many times, so many Scottish female athletes and male athletes too, but heading out to the States to kind of pursue their sporting career. For you as a coach, if you had players coming up to you and say, this is my dream, would you say, yeah, go and do it? Or do you think, stay here and maybe try and get a side in with the national squad? What?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very individual thing, and it's about that individual identifying, if I'm going to embrace this opportunity, what do I want from it culturally, what do I want from it in terms of my sport, and also what do I want from an educational perspective. So I would never, you know, say to someone not to take that opportunity if that was something that I felt, you know, could really help them develop across any of those aspects. I'm thinking about Pam now, and I'm thinking, I was offered a scholarship too, should I have done it? But yeah, it's important not to have any regrets, so I can still go visit Pam a lot, which is great.
Exactly, I'm just thinking about Ocean Drive.
Pam still sees pretty close to Ocean Drive, which I'm a little bit envious of.
I'm so jealous of that. But I mean, the thing is with America, like we were kind of talking about earlier, there's so much money there, there's so much investment. We've been talking about facilities. It's just different, isn't it?
It's very different. Like you say, the finance and the resource is significantly different, and as a result of, you know, American football, Title IX, and things like that. Why not, you know, go and experience the culture, go and have that support network, and also it's a different level of competition. It's the unknown, and to put yourself out into that is something that I think is really, really positive for our most talented young players, golfers, you know.
Definitely, and I mean, a little bit closer to home, not quite in Scotland yet, but just this week we've seen a huge multi-million-pound deal with the Women's Super League down in England. That's huge.
Yeah, I think given the growth that we've seen in the game down south, we did see it coming, but probably didn't maybe realise where it would be pitched. But you know, I think for continual growth of the girls and women's game, that visibility is so important, and I think, you know, will not only help to change perceptions and change the way that you know, maybe older cultures see the game, but I also think, you know, the growth of the game will see another significant growth spurt, not just in England, I think across the home nations.
And just make it sport, not kind of labelling it, here's men's sport, here's women's sport, here's sport. It's amazing. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on there. Yep, it's sport, and that's what it should be perceived to be.
Exactly, and that's why we love it.
It is absolutely why we love it.
Well, Pauline, thank you so much for joining us again this week. It was so good to have you back on, and hopefully next time you're on, we'll be talking about live sport that's happening.
That would be fantastic. I look forward to it also. Thank you.
So do we, thank you. Well, sin air sam program eile, and na hwyrus be Emma Black, colorroomstone studio, is sin a coidseadh aois SWPL chluich and h-Alba. Cynnig has sin a torschucha program ure hula seachdain, smar sin jan cínseach gewelsh ar lentil YouTube, agus cúteach han program begérig acin ar BBC iPlayer. Ma had dat sin being dol an usil spors and van, be sin a breum begéir an seo ar 3 seascad. Mar sin leiv an dras.